Good evening, ladies.
Good evening, Rabbi.
Thank you. God bless. Okay, so now we're going to review that lost material, right? The long lost material.
Thank you so much.
God bless. Okay, so let's get to it. Okay. Okay, let's start from here. So it says like this. Katav Adonai Avi Arasa, right? It says my father, the Roshi says the tour. Hadi Aminan lo amar moed geshem. That which we said, right? That if he didn't say moed geshem, he didn't mention the rain. Machazinoto, we tell him to go back. Hainu keshem mesayem kol habracha. That's only if you finish the whole blessing. Then he has to go back and start again from the beginning. But if you remember before he concluded the blessing, so he should say the place where he remembered, right? All these things we already pretty much read in the Bet Yosef. Why? Because the rabbis didn't really make a place to mention it. In other words, in that blessing, you can mention it anywhere there. Doesn't matter whether it's in the beginning or in the middle or whatever, towards the end. Doesn't really matter. All they said was we should mention the rain, right, on that blessing. But he says the custom is to say before these words. Why is that? Because the rain is a form of parnasah, right, sustenance. But if you didn't say it over there, before these words, then you can say it anywhere else in that blessing as well. So if he erred and didn't mention the rain over there, when he's and then he remembers before Shomei Tfilah, which is, one of the later blessings. Itmar b'Yerushalmi. It says Yerushalmi shem mazkir b'Shomei Tfilah. So it says Yerushalmi, you can mention it right there in Shomei Tfilah. That's what we do. That's halakha, by the way. We already saw that in the Shulchan Aruch. Why is that? Because Shomei Tfilah, that blessing, you can ask for anything you want there, So why not ask for rain? It's the same thing. So you can put it right there. Itmar b'Yerushalmi. It says in Yerushalmi, Shemazkir b'Shomei Tfilah. Aval b'Gemara didam, but it says in our Talmud though, the Perek Tfilat HaShachar over there in this Perek, Grasinan, right? It reads like this to Gemara. Ta'ah v'lo izkir geshamim. If he made a mistake, it didn't mention the rain. In that second blessing, Machazino taught, right? We told him to go back. Ta'ah v'lo sha'al b'birkat hashanim. If he erred and didn't mention in the blessing, right? He didn't ask for rain in Birkat Hashanim in Barachenu. In Machazino, we don't tell him to go back. Why? Because he can say it, right? As we get, same thing. So you see from there, when it comes to mentioning it, there's no way to mention it over there in Shomei Tefillah. Why? Because in Shomei Tefillah, it's not for mentioning there, it's only for asking. So if you're asking, it's okay, but if you're mentioning, it doesn't help you. Can't do it. So he says the reason is because when you're asking for something, as we said, right, it's relevant over there in that place. But when it comes to mentioning, which is like a praise, it doesn't really belong in Shomei Tefillah. That's what he's saying. Therefore, if you forgot and didn't mention there, until you finish the blessing, the Choser l'Rosh has to go back to the beginning of altogether. That's what it says also in Narif, the Adonai Yorsal, and the Tur, I'm sorry, not the Tur, the Rosh. Katav Avi Azri, says the Avi Azri, Im Shachach le'azkir ad shesiyem mechai metim. If you forgot to mention until he concluded mechai metim, when he's kar kodem she'atchil et HaKadosh, and he remembered before he started at HaKadosh, eno tzarich lachazor, he doesn't go back. Ela omer nashiv haruach u'moed hageshem, you say it right there on the spot, in the middle. Right, below chatima, without any conclusion there, just mention it. And also it says when it comes to asking, the same thing applies. If you remember before he starts to Kabbalah Shofar, right, this blessing, Omer v'ten tal matar, he says over there, right there, you give right, ask for rain, right there. And then you start Taka, the next blessing. Like it says in this blessing there, and I'm sorry, in this parak. Ta velo izkir shel Rosh Chodesh. If he erred, right, and he didn't mention Rosh Chodesh, Omer Baruch Shenatan Rashi Chodashim, the Birkat Hamazon. So we're talking here about Birkat Hamazon. So now he goes off on a tangent over here, the two, right, a little bit. Talk about other things, which are related to this somewhat. So he's talking about Birkat Hamazon. If you didn't mention Rosh Chodesh Birkat Hamazon, so what do? You say Baruch Shenatan Rashi Chodashim Le'amo Yisrael. If you look in the Siddur, you're going to find this right over there. This is what you do. Also, when it comes to Shabbat Yom Tov, same thing. The Kama Allah, and he says regarding this to the Tur. I'm sorry, not the Tur. Yeah, Avi Ezri, whatever. Lo shanu ela shelo patach be'atov metiv. That's only if you didn't already start tov metiv. Aval patach atov metiv. But if you start atov metiv, chozer l'rosh, and it goes back to the beginning. Too late already. Ve'hu adin nami hacha. Same thing also applies here. Im lo patach be'bracha shel acharya. If you didn't already start the blessing, which is afterwards, eno tzarich lachazor. He doesn't have to go back. V'chen be'alev yavo. Same thing also with the alev yavo. Now, what is Yalev Yavo? This is already right. Im lo patach b'modin. Right, we're talking now about the Amidah. He jumped back now to the Amidah all of a sudden. Right, first we were talking about Birkat Hamazon. Now it jumps back to the Amidah and says, if you didn't say Yalev Yavo, right, which is the mention of Rosh Chodesh or whatever, Chol HaMoed, whatever it is. Im lo patach b'modin. If you didn't start yet modim, and not tzarich lachazor, he doesn't have to go back. He goes back and says Yalev Yavo. Aval im patach b'modin. But if he started modim, chozer l'retzei, he has to go back to retzei. V'im lo akar aglav, and if he didn't yet step back after the Amidah, aval im, that's only if he didn't step back. Aval im akar aglav, if he did step back, chozer l'rosh, he goes back to the beginning, right, of the prayers altogether. Katav od kol makom, he says, furthermore, every place, shenu momrim chozer lebracha, when we say, right, it goes back to the blessing, sheta'aba, that he aired there, hanamile sheta'a shogeg. Right, that's only if he was inadvertent, right? We already read this in the Bet Yosef yesterday. Ava b'mezid, but if it was on purpose, or b'mitkaven, and if he was doing it on purpose, chozer l'rosh, right? So then he has to go back to the beginning. Okay, so then, right, it goes into, it says, it brings the Yerushalmi, so this we already read yesterday. So that's it, right? We're caught up over here, right? That's pretty much it, right? That's the story. So I hope you're happy, right? We made it up, right? Now we can go to the next chapter. Okay, very good. So now we're going to 115. Let's see what's going on over there. Okay. So it looks like we're discussing here the fourth blessing, like we're going on in the Amidah, like step by step, blessing by blessing. Okay, so let's see what the Torah says here. So says the Torah, one second, I'm sorry, this is not the right one. Yeah, so it says the Torah like this. So it says the fourth blessing is a tachonen, right? So the question is why, right? So it says, ask the Torah, right? Why do they talk about understanding after holiness, right? What's the connection between one and the other? Because it says, right, that when a person sees his children, so he's bringing here a verse, right, which seems to connect the issue of holiness with wisdom, right? So he says, in this blessing, you have 17 words. Same thing as the verse, right? Shemot in Exodus, right? 28. ואתה תדבר אל כל חכמי לב, משום שמותר הדם מן הבהמה, מותר מן הבהמה היא הבינה. So he says, it talks about there about, yeah. So he says, since the advantage of the human over the animal is the understanding, right? The intellect is the advantage. והשכל קבוע ראש לאמצעיות. So therefore they put it first, right? In the middle blessings. This is the first of the middle blessings. Why this one? Because wisdom, is a big thing, right? That's what makes us greater than the animals, right? Otherwise, we just like the animal kingdom, right? You know how it is, right? With these people, these crazy scientists like Darwin, they say we're all animals, it's not true. The human beings are not animals. We have a human holy soul that the animals don't have. And we have intellect, or something that the animals don't have. They pretty much run on instinct, they have some kind of a brain, of course, but they don't have intellect, they're not philosophers, that's not, they don't get into all kinds of things like that, investigation, philosophy, right, mathematics, they don't do algebra, right, all kinds of things, they don't do stuff like that. Okay, so, right, that's the advantage. So the truth is, wisdom is a big thing, obviously, right, so therefore they put it first. A person should be asking for wisdom, so he can be wise and make the proper decisions in his life, this way he won't botch things up, right, hopefully, right? Okay, so that's the reason why. So it means Yerushalmi here, right? Im en bina en tefillah. Look what it says, right? Interesting. Wow. If a person doesn't have wisdom, understanding, then there's no prayers either. In other words, animals don't seem to pray, right? Or whatever, So why is that? Because if you don't have one, you don't have the other. Right? So it says also in that blessing, the fourth blessing, when we do Havdalah, right, in outgoing of Shabbat, that's where we put it, in the fourth blessing. So now, right, you got to ask the question, why put it over there, right? Why not some other blessing put it in there, right? And also Yom Tov, same thing. Mishum shehu chokhmah shema she'adam mabdil ben davar ledavar. So he says, because separating between Shabbat and weekday, right, is also wisdom, right? You need wisdom for that. You have to know, right, when one day ends and the other day begins. And if you saw my class yesterday, right, in the synagogue, about when the fast day ends, right? I spoke about that there, right? If you want to see it, go back and look at it. Because we have in the Torah two different opinions about when the day ends, right? We have the opinion of the Geonim, which is 13 and a half minutes, right? And we have the Rabbeinu Tam, which is 72 minutes. That's what we have, right? Nowadays in America, they do something in the middle, 40 minutes, So the truth is, the 40 minutes that they have here in America, it's an arbitrary number with really no real source, the custom is a little bit, right? The Rabbi Maran, he didn't like this custom because he said, either you go according to Geonim or Rabbeinu Tam. There's nothing in the middle. What you're making up some kind of a third right theory, some kind of, it doesn't say in the Torah 40 minutes. So therefore, he didn't believe in that, and he was against it. He didn't really like that. So then, why do they do it over here? Why do they do 40 minutes, right? In America, 45 minutes, 40 minutes. What's the reason why? Because these rabbis here in America, they have this theory that since the Talmud says that the day is over when the stars come out, they say, okay, gee whiz, let's go and see in the sky, right? When the stars come out, that's the day's over. So the thing is, that with their naked eye, they're looking at the stars, and they see, right, that the stars come out at a certain time. So they say, gee whiz, that must be the time where it's night, but the Rabbi Maran Alav Shalom, he didn't like this looking with the naked eye, for stars. And there are several reasons why that is. First of all, there's in the cities especially, you have lights all over, so you can't really readily see the stars on time. You're going to see them late because the light grid, right, which is on the ground in the cities, is blocking your vision of the stars. Right, that's one thing. Also, there's another thing, there's a Tosfot and Pnei Yoshua, they both say that we don't have the wisdom today, to look at the stars, and see when it comes out. In other words, you need some kind of a certain wisdom there, a certain technique, that you have to have. And he says, we don't have that today. So we don't really, so in other words, the bottom line is that the Rabbi held, man, that, you can't really check this with your naked eye. There's no way to do that, really. So therefore, right, we must use the times that were given in the poskim, which is, as again, 13 and a half minutes for the Geonim and 72 minutes for Rabbeinu Tam. These things, by the way, they also vary because of Shal Zmaniot, right, seasonal times, all kinds of things. So that's why I tell people, right, that, the rabbis to tell the halacha, right, practically, that if you have something which is from the rabbis, some kind of law, so you can rely on the Geonim, and so once, 20 minutes passes by after sunset, it's already night. If it's something from the Torah, which would be stringent, so there we should do like Rabbeinu Tam. This is the rule. This is the rule that the rabbi gave us. Whether you're in outside in diaspora or even in Eretz Israel, pretty much. That's the proper way to behave. To be lenient with the rabbis and to be stringent with the Torah. This is what we do. So you see, right, that all this is chokhmah. That's what the Torah is saying over here, right? This is all wisdom, There's no animal that I know of, that knows about Rabbeinu Tam and the Geonim, So they don't have that wisdom, what I mean? So this is the reason why they put the Havdalah in the fourth blessing, because it's chokhmah, it's wisdom, right? And this is the reason, that's why it fits in over there. Okay, very good. So let's go on a little bit. So says the Torah, right? Bedin Havdalah v'ta'ota, regarding Havdalah, right, and the mistakes that a person makes, whatever. Itber b'siman b'seder mem shin bezat Hashem, right? So it's going to be explained. It says right down the road, regarding these things. So we can stop there, on the tour and see Bet Yosef a little bit. So regarding all the things that the tour brought here, says the Bet Yosef, right? He just brings the source over here for these things. What's the source? In Megillah, right? Gemara Megillah, Yud Zayin Amud Bet. What else we got here? And he says that which the tour said, right? That it has there are right, as we said, 15 letters there, right? According to our text, it's 17, whatever it is. Anyway, it says this comes from the tour itself. This is not written in the Talmud, right? How many words does this blessing have? The truth is, with the different customs in the Sidur, the different, right, probably there's different numbers of words there. It may not be even uniform at all. Especially in the winter, right? Because in the winter, the Sfarim, our custom is to say Baruch Aleinu, which is a longer one, which has much more than 17 words. It has a lot more. So therefore, this doesn't really fit in at all. Okay, good. So then, right, interesting. The Bet Yosef here brings something. He goes on. Okay, so we got to go on in the tour a little bit. It's a little bit longer than I thought. Okay, so it says in the tour like this. Chamishit, right? The fifth blessing, Hashivenu, right? Which is about tshuva, right? Doing teshuvah, the penitence. Umara ulamar teshuvah, achamina. So why they put penitence after, right? After understanding? Tiktiv Hashem lev ha'am hazeh ואוזניו אכבד על בעיניו השע פן יראה בעיניו ובאוזניו ישמע ולבוא יבין ושב ורפא לו הרי so this verse, right, is juxtaposing wisdom to teshuvah. So what does that mean? It says like this, the verse. Since the Jewish people, have sinned and they don't have wisdom, so therefore, their only remedy is to do teshuvah, right? To repent. That's what it's saying. So we see that the connection between one and the other. Okay. So it's said, right? Yes, I'm sorry.
Don't you have to have understanding in order to do teshuvah?
Right, but the problem is, when a person doesn't have understanding, you know what I mean? So that means he's sinning, right? He's a sinner, He doesn't know what he's doing. You know what I mean? So therefore, the thing to do is to do teshuvah,
But he doesn't understand what to do teshuvah for. Or yeah.
Right, but you know what it is? That it happens like this. You know what the process is?
Uh-huh.
The process is that a person, goes off the rails, a little bit, right? And he, gets lost.
Yes.
So then he realizes, that he's lost already. He's in deep water, deep trouble.
Okay.
So therefore, this inspires him to do teshuvah, The fact that he's, he lost his way.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes, thank you.
But of course, to do real teshuvah, to go up the ladder of teshuvah, like you said, you also need wisdom. That's for sure. So what does a person do, by the way, if he doesn't know what he's doing, right? He doesn't know the proper path. How does he do teshuvah? Get a rabbi, and start asking your rabbi questions, right? That's what you do, That's what rabbis are for. Don't rely on your own understanding, right? As it says in Pirkei Avot. Don't rely on your understanding, of things. Get a rabbi and rely on his understanding. Because he understands better than you. And don't be one of those, right, loners, solo guys, right? Yeah, I'll do it myself. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. How are you going to take care of it? But you know so much Torah, you can take care of everything? So that's why you need a rabbi. This is the way to acquire wisdom, I remember, when I was a young guy, just got married, unfortunately, I'll tell you, I meet up with some people today, who call me and ask me questions. And, when I answer them, they start arguing and, then they tell me, well, this other rabbi didn't say like you, things like this, So, I tell them, I said, my answer is always, pick which rabbi you like, whichever rabbi you like, and go like him, whoever you trust the most. You don't have to go like me. I'm not obligating you to, if you don't trust me, then, go find somebody else. What can you do, It's a free country, where you can pick the rabbi that you want. That's what I tell people, So why do I tell you that? Because, there are some, confused children today, kids, young people. And you know what the problem is? The problem is that, they shop around, with rabbis. They go to one rabbi, then they go to another rabbi, compare notes, and then, like they get confused, because so then they don't even know what to do. You know what I mean? This rabbi told me that rabbi told me this. This is the problem, That's why I tell people in Pirkei Avot, it doesn't say to get, it says Aser Charav. It doesn't say to get rabbis in Pirkei Avot. It says to get a rabbi, one rabbi. That's good enough, You don't need 5 rabbis, 10 rabbis. You don't need that. It doesn't say anywhere you need to have 10 rabbis. So the proper thing to do, is to get one rabbi. And these young kids, what happens is that they don't know what they're doing. They ask several rabbis. They get confused because each one tells them something else, So then, they're wondering, like, gee, why does this rabbi say like that? Why does this rabbi say like that? They don't know what the reason is behind it. They don't understand, So in order to avoid this problem, I'll tell you honestly, when I was young, just got married, even before I got married, I was learning yeshiva. I just had one rabbi. I would ask him the question. I would call him up, ask him the question. In those days, there was no email. There was no texting, nothing like that. I would call him up, ask the question. The rabbi would answer, and I would say, okay, have a good night, Rabbi. Thank you. God bless. Chazak Baruch. I didn't ask him why all these things, I just start with the wise Alec remarks. You know what I mean? This other rabbi said something else. Why you say like that? You're just a young guy, you're just getting started, whatever, young girl, whatever. You don't know how to compare notes between one rabbi and another. You don't have the depths of understanding to get into that. You know what I mean? So why are you putting your place why are you putting yourself in a place where you don't belong? You want to run with the big boys, you know what I mean? And, decide between the rabbis, decipher between them. This is not your place. You know what I mean? You're not on that level yet. When you get to that level, after you study, for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and you get to, ordained, and become a big chacham, so then, okay, you can decide by yourself, compare notes with this rabbi, and then you can do that. But a person who's just getting started out, just getting his feet wet, what business does he have comparing, what one rabbi said to the other rabbi? You can't. You have no ability to do that. So why waste your time? Why frustrate yourself and also frustrate your rabbi, and make a big mess, That's the thing. So therefore, the proper thing to do, Rabbi, I recommend, to people, just get one rabbi, and go like him, and don't play games. I mean, this way, right? As the Rashba says, what the advantage is to that? If you get one rabbi, the advantage there's many advantages, but one advantage is like this: if that rabbi made a mistake, he told you to do something wrong, so they don't blame you; they blame him. He gets blamed for that. So therefore, it's like you get absolved by that. You're absolving yourself, by relying on your rabbi. You're doing like innocently, you're like a little bit naive. Just listen to what the rabbi says. If he told you something wrong, he's got the sin, not you. So therefore, right, that's the best way to do it. Okay, I guess we'll stop here. B'ezrat Hashem. We'll continue tomorrow. Chazak Baruch. be blessed with wealth, health, happiness. Gemar Chatima Tova, you should all be judged and inscribed in the book of life, in the book of Torah, in the book of Mitzvot, in the book of God, fear of God. Good health, refuah shlema, amen, amen. Chazak Baruch.
Amen.
Laila tov.
Thank you, Rabbi.
God bless.